Good evening.
My name is Jamar Youngblood, and I'm here tonight to introduce two books I've been reading. They both are called The Black Tax. One was written by a black banker, the other by a white historian. I mention their race because studies show people often take in information differently depending on who is saying it. Unfortunately, race still plays a role in how information is received and trusted, even when the data is the same. So, Andrew Call, the white historian, studied how Black communities were overtaxed and stripped of land for generations. Sean Rochester, the Black banker, explains how Black families pay more than other families for housing, credit, and everyday goods because of bias in our economic system. I suggest you all read these books because they both play, or they both make alarming claims about property taxes. They show that Black homeowners, both in the past and today, often have their property overassessed in an attempt to displace us from our neighborhoods. And after doing some research by speaking to Black property owners in our city, it seems this type of injustice is happening here in Newark as well. Over the past 5 years, Newark property taxes have steadily increased, and so have our water bills. During this time period, property taxes in Newark have increased by close to 15%, and water rates increased by over 25%. And at the same time, developers continue to receive tax breaks to build projects that most longtime residents can't afford or benefit from. So we need to be honest about who the city is really being built for and who's paying for this new growth, because it doesn't seem like it's being built for the native residents. The same residents who have lived here for decades are now paying the price for growth they have not benefited from. So both of these books describe how our economic systems drain wealth from Black families. And if we're not careful, Newark will follow the same path as Brooklyn and Atlanta, where native residents now live 3 hours away from the neighborhoods they helped build. These books show that rising taxes aren't just a financial issue, they are also used as a strategy to push Black people out of neighborhoods that others want, especially when elected officials are not transparent about how they are spending the tax and school board money. We have to admit that Black and brown people are still being underserved and overexploited, and it's hard to blame white supremacy alone when our Black leadership continues to unknowingly follow a playbook designed to keep Black and brown residents at the bottom. And it saddens me to hear Norkers say this is just how our government works, as if the policies we live under aren't a choice. The answer to our problem should be simple: vote in new elected officials who would create policies that protect us from our unchecked economic system. But voter turnout is so low, it makes me wonder if us millennial and Gen Z residents really care about our future here in Newark. I just want to remind everyone that neoliberalism is real if we're seeing it in full effect when outsiders come into our city and privatize our hospitals, our schools, and even try to privatize our water. So now that you are aware of the concept of the Black tax, here are 3 steps we can take right now. First, we should suspend any further tax hikes in Black neighborhoods until we have a fair and transparent property reevaluation process. Second, evaluate how the tax abatements given to developers shift the tax burden onto residents. And lastly, start to experiment on legislation that allows us to keep money circulating in our Black communities. Because the biggest misconception people have of our city is that Black residents are looking for charity and handouts, when the truth is we're only looking for justice and a government that is willing to protect us from our unchecked economic system. So if we do not address this now, we are choosing to become a city that builds for outsiders while pushing our own people out through higher taxes, especially when there's no transparency about how the tax money is being spent. And to the Black and brown residents of our city, I want to leave you with a quote from Sun Tzu in his book, The Art of War. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. End quote. So again, to our young Black and brown residents, there are outside forces that don't want us to stay in the city that our elders built. And to our seniors, you know we are in a fight because you lived through it throughout your entire life in this country. You've seen how these patterns play out, and you know what's happening. So why do we keep supporting candidates who have no plan? Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.